Wild Willie here. I had all this inspiration to do this video on the drive home, and then I got home and I said, oh, I don't want to do this at all. It's terrible. But we're going to give it a go anyways, just in case. I might fall asleep. Alright, it's going to be all over the place. This video is going to be all over the place. What I'm really going to be talking about is the Mandala effect, but I'm not going to be talking about it at all. I'm going to be talking about spells and magic, interdimensional travel. You're getting to the meat of me. This is the meat of me. I'm just kidding. But we got to have a rule here, or we have to have a preface here, something we're going to be using, right? So I had this really sweet Buddhist book, and in the introduction of the Buddhist book, there was a summation of the Buddhist teachings. And one of those teachings was that the Buddha taught that there was innumerable world systems, 32 realms of existence. Innumerable world systems composed of 32 realms of existence subdivided into 3 spheres. I've talked about these in previous videos. I made one video comparing Christianity to Buddhism to Mormonism, and I related to them to the 3 spheres of Buddhism. Buddhism was talking about, kind of. That's what I was kind of doing. And anyways, so we're kind of going to use that idea from Buddhism, and we're going to kind of explore the Mandala effect, spells and magic, and interdimensional travel. It's going to be a far out video, guys. This is a far out one. So let's do it. Now, I can't remember the planes in the second or the third sphere, right? But in the lowest sphere, the first sphere, I remember all the planes, okay? So in these 32 planes of existence, or whatever they are, right? 31. There are visible beings, and then there are invisible beings. And if we use the energy spectrum as our guide to keep us rooted in reality and rational thinking, we can make sense of these irrational ideas. Because the Mandala effect is totally unexplainable, right, by science. Like, people can try to rationally explain it, right? Oh, well, I have this memory. We collectively have this memory of something happening this way, but then there's no evidence of it, and it actually happened this way, right? But you can use energy as your guide to make all this stuff rational. And it's based on the condition of the teaching of the Buddha and this idea of visible beings and invisible beings existing within the entire energy spectrum. Because the energy spectrum, is huge, but only 1% of the energy spectrum is visible light, which is where we live in, which is where 2 of the planes of existence are in. So out of 31 planes of existence, 29 of them, or whatever, I can't remember the exact number, are visible. And then the remaining 29 of, 2 of them are visible, 29 of them or 30 of them are invisible, right? So now the teachings of the Buddha are truth. They're truth in that they are true in this moment, and they're true in moments beyond this moment because they're fractally true. So we can examine the planes in the lower sphere, and we can understand this, right? So in the lowest sphere of existence, so six planes in the lowest sphere, and these planes are Deva, humans, animals, ghosts, demons, and hell, okay? So if you think about existentially dying and being reborn in a lower plane, say you're a human, and you are reborn in hell, like you did a lot of bad in your life, hypothetically, theoretically, and you're reborn in hell, right? We don't know if that's true, right? Actually, because I'm not reborn yet. But I haven't died yet. I'm alive. But if I carry out an action rooted in evil, rooted in unskillfulness, rooted in ignorance, rooted in darkness, like I've got no clue what I'm doing, right? I'm not in the visible light spectrum. I'm not aware of what I'm doing. I'm just doing. I do something really bad, it's going to elicit hell karma. I mean that's true, right? And so if these are perfect fractal truths, then a plane beyond this plane would exist, and theoretically there could be 31 of them. You know what I'm saying? So I lost my kind of thought here. But you see, I don't remember where I was going with that. But the whole thing is based on intelligence, right? Because I believe every living thing has intelligence. We call it consciousness, but really it's intelligence, right? Everything is intelligence, and it has intelligence. And when your body dies, all the intelligence that you have, or the consciousness that you have, the aliveness in you, which is animate intelligence, right? Because like I can know how to like do something, like program a computer or make something, like fix a car, right? But what type of intelligence is like really like knowledge of myself is higher intelligence, right? I know how to do things, but if I know about myself, that's the highest form of intelligence, right? I mean, even brain models, you know, executive functioning skills, which exist in the cortex, the neocortex, metacognition, you know, thinking about yourself, self-awareness, planning, control. Those are all executive functioning skills. Those are the highest domain of intelligence that we have as people, right? Thinking about yourself, knowing about yourself. So the knowledge that you have of yourself when you die, the conscious knowledge you have of consciousness, right, carried out of the body, theoretically could go somewhere and create a fractal truth, right? I was thinking about I was driving, and actually what happened was, now I don't really get into this too much, and I don't want to get into this too much, but a thought occurred to me, and it's kind of relevant to what we're talking about. So, number one, I don't vote. Number two, I never will. But I'm driving, and all of a sudden, the babblings of Kamala Harris pop into my brain. They pop into my brain. And I think, here's an unintelligent woman. And her babblings, though, somehow have infiltrated my brain, my intelligence. They've hijacked my intelligence. Now, I said, wait a minute, because I was thinking about something she was saying, and it affected my thinking, and I said, wait, she's not unintelligent, she's very intelligent. These words are spells. And that's what I thought. And I said, wow, that's interesting. These are spells. And I'm not saying that Cheeto Guy, her competitor, isn't using spells either. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm actually saying is that turn off the television, don't watch that nonsense, and don't be influenced by the spells and the magic. Because if you think about it, if I was a non-visible being, but I had intelligence, right? If I was a non-visible being in the realms of ghosts, demons, or hell, according to the Buddhist teaching, right, of these lower planes, right, I would still have intelligence, but what would the nature of my intelligence be, right? Because spells have power. Like, Like everything in our world is a spell. Language is spells. We cast spells on ourselves with our language every day, right? And so, I mean, in the Christian paradigm, spells or witchcraft is control and manipulation, right? So, I mean, that's everything in our externally presented world to us. But I was thinking about these words, and I'm thinking, man, they're getting caught in my mind, and they kind of sound good, they mean nothing, but I'm thinking, here's a spell, and I'm thinking, oh, that's intelligence. That could be intelligence of a lower order. And if you think about it, what would not be control and manipulation? Truth. Lies are control and manipulation, and we all know politicians lie, so therefore they're using spells. Let's tell the truth. Let's not listen to that. So that's the birth, the maturation, the decay, and the death of my political commentary in this video, and hopefully for the following videos. But it's interesting to me to consider this idea of intelligence, and intelligence being carried throughout all of the realms, which suggests a constant, right? I mean, animals have intelligence. I mean, they certainly have instinct, which is a form of intelligence, and they don't question their instincts. They act upon our instincts. We have instincts also, but we also have the capacity for higher intelligence, which is the intelligence of self-reflection, right? So now, leaving the human realm and going to the realm above, the Deva realm, which is a non-visible being realm, right? I can't speak about those people in that realm, right? But for those of you who have watched my channel, I've grown up as a Mormon person. I was a Mormon person, and the Mormons have similar ideological viewpoints to Buddhism. And so some of those are 3 kingdoms of glory, 3 heavens, similar to 3 spheres of existence. And the highest degree of glory, I think you can hear about it and stuff on the internet or whatever, I'm not totally sure, is that you can die and be reborn and have an intelligence to create forms. Because if you ascend the plane of form, which is the visible light spectrum, right? This is visible light, forms that I can see. If you ascend the plane of form, you would have intelligence, clearly still, right? So, but you would have intelligence to create forms? I don't know. Maybe that sounds pretty cool. If I have intelligence in the lower spheres to influence people in the visible light spectrum, to control and manipulate them. Now, as a person, as a human, on a human plane, I don't have to be affected by that intelligence from the lower plane of ghosts and demons in hell, right? Because I have conscious awareness. I have loving, conscious awareness, which is what dispels manipulation and control. If you elevate your consciousness, you elevate the entire consciousness of the people all around you. If you lower your consciousness, you lower the consciousness of all the people around you, right? And this is talking about magnetism, and this is talking about what affects and what attracts others to each other. And so on that note, I'm going to jump around a little bit, but on that note, we have this idea of dimensions, right? This idea of dimensions. 3 spheres, 3 kingdoms, 3 dimensions, okay? Let's leave it at that. So, but I want to jump back to, if I ascend the human plane and I enter into a Deva plane, or if I enter into a Brahman plane, or all the other, so many other planes in the 2nd and 3rd spheres I can't even remember, right? The names of, which are non-visible beings, which is pure intelligence, which is ultimate intelligence, which is basically source, which is all of the intelligence, which is God, right? We're getting somewhere on this hierarchy. So just as the people could resist the intelligence of the lower dimensions, the people above would have the ability to create and influence in lower dimensions. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm seeing. But if we go back to this idea of dimensions, now I've seen this in real life, right? And this is cool to me. I've seen this on the Pacific Crest Trail. There's no rules, right? And basically, how this works is with reality on the level of reality, I have to control myself in any given situation according to who is what is the thing or what is the person with the biggest me, okay? The thing or the person that has the lowest amount of self-knowledge is what dictates how I have to control myself. Now that's a loaded statement, and I can try to explain that and flesh that out a little bit for you, but I don't want to go too much into that, right? Because what I want to do is get into the anecdote of me seeing this organization, right? The organization of dimensions happening in real life with people. But like, you have to control yourself depending on the frequency that you are answering to in any given situation, right? So if you're in church, you have to control yourself to meet that frequency if you want to fit in, right? If you are in school, it's the same. If you're with your best buddy who's just like you, then you won't have to control yourself that much. If they're not just like you, but they're still your best buddy, if you want to relate with them, if you want to match with them and mirror with them, you have to control yourself to that degree, right? Unless they have a higher degree of self-knowledge to where they can accept you as you are. Because if I can accept me as I am, then I can accept you as you are, and then there's no need. We can control or not control ourselves, and there's no problem. But if I'm in the police department, I have to control myself, not because the police have bigger me's, but because the laws that the police are choosing to uphold have bigger me's. Now that's kind of crazy and confusing, and I don't want to get much into that. But if you go out into an environment where there is no control, everybody has to control themselves only to the degree that they're open within themselves and to nature. Because if it's raining, you have to kind of wear a coat if you don't want to get wet, right? So nature is determining and dictating the amount of control that you have to exert with yourself and your environment, right? But let's say you have a high degree of self-knowledge and you say, I don't need to wear a coat. You're free. You can choose. You see what I'm saying? You can choose the consequence. We have laws, right? Laws are the me, okay? The agreements that society is predicated on, that's the me of society, right? So, but if you take this environment of like a long distance through hiking trail, where you remove everybody from the me's and the things that govern and enforce everything, what you get is a natural organization of frequencies of intelligence. You get a natural organization of intelligence. If I have learned in my life that people are bad, I will magnetize to people with a similar intelligence. I won't magnetize to people who believe that people are good, right? I won't naturally go there. I will organize by frequency, which is intelligence, which is based on intelligence. People are not all bad. Sometimes they do bad things, but people are inherently good, right? That's intelligence. It's a statement of declaration to something that allows me to vibrate, which I believe. This is something I believe, so it allows me to actually authentically vibrate at a specific frequency and then organize with the same type of people in my environment. Now, I've seen this on the Pacific Coast Trail. This happens naturally. All these different hikers from all different countries in the United States, sometimes international countries, they come and they're all walking. And they're all walking on a line, so they all inadvertently bump into each other. People are social beings. They like to be around other people. What happens is an organization and the formation of these hiker families. That's what they're called, my hiker family. And the hiker families are naturally organized by frequency. And I saw these. I saw categories of these frequencies. So what that does is that is empirical evidence that supports this idea of dimensions, of spheres, of kingdoms, whatever, like categories. And I had a home group, hiker family home group, but I was a solo hiker in that I did not commit to any specific group. I found my group that I resonated with, but then I also explored the other groups to learn, to see how they were different, to compare them. And what I found was that they were very much different, and they were very much based on an organization of frequency and type of intelligence. And so, to me, that's real, right? Because I've seen that, I've thought about it, I believed it. To me, that's my intelligence, and that's why I'm talking about 3 groupings everywhere. Now, did I see specifically 3 groupings? I could say that I did see specifically 3 groupings, but the Buddha says there's 31 planes, right? And you can have a plane, you can exist in any plane in any moment, depending on what you do or what you did in the previous moment, and that must theoretically continue on after this form dies and the intelligence that it carried goes somewhere, right? So that's the idea. So I'm not going to necessarily say I saw 3 or I saw 31 or whatever, but I did see variations, distinct variations. But what this is all leading to me in my mind, is this idea of the Mandala effect, okay? Because the Mandala effect is really interesting to me. We have this collective memory, and then there's no evidence of that collective memory. It changed, it switched. And so it creates this idea of timelines, a different timeline. I don't necessarily believe so much that it's a different timeline. I believe it's a different dimension. Not like we are going this way and our old dimension was going that way. Like, I think we've collectively lowered the frequency of our intelligence, or collectively have raised the frequency of our intelligence. And then the memories we have from each group or each intelligence range or frequency range is different. It's different. Like you can meet the same people in each group, but they're vibrationally different. Like, you can meet the same characters, the same archetypes, the same figures, but they're different. They're not exactly the same. And so, like, in a Mandala effect, like if we're collective intelligence and we're just interdimensionally traveling along this continuum of spherical frequency existence, right? Then it would make sense that, the memory might be different, because maybe this event did happen, this event is still in this one, but they're not the same. They're slightly different, which is kind of real, which is totally real. So, am I saying anything? No, I'm not saying anything at all. But I think it's curious to me. And interdimensional travel, or interspherical travel, or interkingdom travel, or frequency changes, I mean, that's the rule. That's not the exception, that's the rule. And we're not talking about societal change on a bigger frame. Like, we're not talking about eons. I mean, now I'm talking about eons, but we're not talking about our change in going anywhere. Like, we're moving like this. You see what I mean? Or like a spiral that is also like moving in bigger spirals, right? Because this is all fractally true. So, and then another way they would say it is that they have spun around and they look at this one, and that could be, but interdimensional travel is a reality, and I think we're all doing it together. I think we're doing it individually. I think that's what growth is, right? And my whole thing was that, I think the Mandala effect is collective interdimensional travel, but not like we're going different directions anymore. We're in the same boat. We're just traveling through time and space, sometimes slower, sometimes faster. And I think depending on the rate of speed at which we're traveling through space, like a frequency, like certain memories of a different rate of speed will correspond to faster or slower rates of speeds, but they won't be exactly the same. And that's what I think is accounting for that effect. Anyways, Wild Willie here, riding again. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was really long. It's really crazy, so I hope you liked it. It's a deviation from my normal organized style of videos. I thought it would be fun to do a disorganized style of video. If you like the video, subscribe to my channel. I was thinking about making the same video, but slightly different. And uploading that one as well to create a Mandala effect, but I'm not going to do that because 25 minutes, I don't even know what the heck I'm saying. Till next time, ride again.